Hey guys, Colton here from the EV Kingdom, and today is a new what if. Now, I did mention it in my other video I'm gonna post later, but since this might be the first one, I haven't decided yet. I am doing a thing where I do two voiceovers, so I can post one later, and if I'm busy the day I decided to post another video, I can just post it that way instead of having to rush a script. Anyways, today I'm doing something different. In my other what ifs I have done on the channel, I normally drag two universes together and do a what if based off that. Today I'm doing something that's kind of canon but also not canon to the story. All of you probably know about the RWBY DC crossovers, whether it be by comic books, or the movies. I'm gonna go based off the movies, since I have not read the comics, and it would be unfair if I did. And try that, without any information, or reading them personally. Anyways, I'm gonna go with a few ground rules for this, and yeah, I forgot. I'm doing what if Team RWBY had their superpowers. And yes, I know Weiss didn't have superpowers, so she's not gonna have powers in this series. But that just means I can be more fun with this concept. Now, a few ground rules I'm going over. One, I'm only sticking with their superpowers and the powers they have in the second part of the movie. Meaning, they're not gonna have their semblances. Aura's pretty much non-existent for them. They can still use dust and weapons if they want, and they're probably going to. It's just they're not gonna have their traditional semblance, in a matter of speaking. And without aura, I'm going to compensate for that by giving them higher endurance, meaning they can take a lot more hits naturally than with aura. And since they don't have aura, and how Remnant normally uses aura in the series, that means they can, in theory, use their powers as often as they want, without worried of running out of aura. This is gonna bring a decent twist between everything. Well, this is gonna bring a decent plot in later on. Anyways, the second rule is I don't know if I'm gonna give Ruby or Silver eyes. It's not an entirely determined thing, but I don't know at the moment. If you guys have any suggestions for that, let me know in the comments below. And I pretty much got all that out of the way. Now I know where I want to end this, so I'm gonna see how far I get, and if I get farther or in a shorter time span than I thought I did, I'd probably go a little bit farther than I have planned. Anyways, Team RWBY, you will be witnessing figuring out they have powers at a younger age. It's not gonna be where they just discovered they have superpowers instead of semblances. It's at Beacon. That would be dumb. And very convenient for the plot. So yeah. Blake, Yang, and Ruby all have superpowers. I'll be going over what powers they get when I go over the characters. Anyways, Ruby and Yang would discover that they both have powers due to one day of training. Ruby randomly teleported to somewhere a little bit further, but around her eye range. And Yang accidentally sent a pillar of fire. They are kids and training. At this point, they had no clue what their semblances were, and they just discovered it. Now, realizing that their powers are weird compared to everything else, and the fact that they did ask Ty about it, and Ty gave them the explanation of how semblances work. They think it's their semblance for a while, but after a time passed, they do realize that they don't have aura, so they shouldn't be able to use it. So they end up deciding to train in with it in secret, and if anyone asks, it is their semblance. They just really hope they don't have aura. Ask about aura. Anyways, as I mentioned before, I'm going to go over their powers, for those of you who don't know. RWBY is teleportation, and creating a small, well, kind of turning into rose petals, but instead of sending a trail, it's just basic teleportation. Yang's power, when I looked it up, is Fire Fist, meaning she can manipulate flames from her hands. They do spend time till Volume 1 figuring out what they can do, what combos they could do, and just figure out the limits and restraints they have. Now, Weiss and Blake, I want to spend more time on since their stories really change at this point. Now, Weiss is the heiress to the Cheney Dust Company, and all female Cheneys have the family semblance. When Weiss is born, and after a while, all of trying to gain her semblance, and nothing happening, Jock is a little bit annoyed, but also thinking this is a good time since Winter left to join the military instead of being his underling. In a way, I don't like Jock, so if he didn't think that, I don't care. That's what I think he thought then. Either way, since Weiss doesn't have a semblance or aura at all, Jock is planning on just having Weiss do whatever he asks her of. Kind of like William. Or, well, Weiss's brother. And yeah, Weiss is a little bit depressed, but due to wanting to be like her sister, she is determined and stubborn. So she is more focused on how to do it instead of trying to force a semblance, which she still tries. But Weiss is also one of the more clever members of Team RWBY. Aside from Blake, who has battle experience, Weiss has book smarts. So Weiss actually looks into dust, knowing that she's the heiress and has a near infinite supply of it. So she actually goes an Iron Man route on this. She's actually looking into how dust can be incorporated into many other things instead of just weapons. Heck, one of the fun ideas I came up with is her creating powdered dust, and adding it to thread and making some gloves out of it. And yes, if you know Full Metal Alchemist, you're probably thinking what I'm thinking, and if you are, we are on the same wavelength. Yes, Weiss does have gloves that if she snaps, she creates fire. It's one of the things she ends up figuring out. And Weiss is also making armor. Like an armor-like thing. And so she can increase her durability, speed, and physical strength, meaning she's doing a little more workouts than she normally does. And when it comes time to fight the giant, Weiss is a little bit more prepared than she was in canon, and relying on her semblance, so I don't think Weiss would get a scar. Or the scar would still happen, and Weiss is a little more on the back foot. But through her creativity and planning on how to fight higher stages Grimm, which we really never got a description on how strong Grimm could be. Yeah. but Weiss still makes it and becomes a student of Beacon. Now, last but not least, Blake. Her story also changes a lot since, well, people in her life. Now, Blake also discovers her superpower at a young age, and her ability is shadow manipulation. Now, they don't really spend much time in showing Team RWBY with their powers and what they can do with it. Again, ending. I don't think I mentioned it here, but seriously, they don't use their powers. It's at the end. Anyways, Blake discovers her power, and that changes everything. Adam still found her fascinating and joined forces with her due to everything in canon. Now he's more clingy than anything else. Blake has the most power out of all of them, even Adam has to admit it. And Blake's shadow manipulation is more versatile than his own semblance. So he honestly invites Blake to join him on more missions. And throughout the missions, he's becoming more power hungry, in a way. It's like, give a man who was tortured for a lot of his life keys to ultimate power, and he will go crazy with revenge. Anyways, Blake does shortly realize this and runs away from the White Fang sooner. She still ends up going to Beacon due to apparently that being her plan, but she has a little more time into herself before that. And due to how much... Due to how much Adam required her to use her power, she's a little bit more hesitant to use it. So she's going to be focusing on hand-to-hand and or just using Gamble Shroud more often. And yeah, they all still go to Beacon as in canon, and I really got through that faster than I thought. Anyways, I guess I can go as far as I can. And Team RWBY, he arrives at Beacon. RWBY and Blake, RWBY and Yang are talking, have that entire conversation. Now, Weiss, he's being at that point. Weiss being a little bit looked down by her own father due to not having a semblance. And it kind of makes her realize she's not liking the Faunus. I'm not saying that, but she can sympathize with them a little bit more. So she's not as stuck up as she was in canon. In fact, I think she would at least help RWBY up, and they would talk a little bit after John comes to try being the big hero, or at least being cool. And they both mention that he's and then RWBY mentions that he's comic or vomit boy. Weiss ends up going with them because, well, apparently RWBY just dragged her, or she just felt bored. Anyways, they talk. RWBY brings out her scythe. He blabbers about how she made it. John just talks about how his is a relic, and when they do question Weiss actually gives them at least a little bit of a demonstration of what she cooked up with her gloves. RWBY would be pretty much starry-eyed as she was in the second episode of the series. Heck, I'm pretty sure RWBY would be asking Weiss questions about how she did it and how it works. What else could it do? Oddly enough, I think at this point RWBY and Weiss would be pretty close. Not as close as they would be in my other What If, but they would be at least weapon buddies. Because Weiss has been putting more effort into creating tools rather than and just using one. And I'll save everything about the test later. They do still have the other moments and going to the meeting and hearing everything. The sleep stuff still happens, but that Weiss is less of a jerk and is at least decent, on decent terms with RWBY. And I'm gonna end it here. Yeah, I have something to do later. And also, I want to save the rest of the part 1 for later. Because there will be changes happening there. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. It's a little bit different for me in making this. I can't speak right now. It's a little bit different from what I normally do, but I still hope it's a good what if anyways. And like, comment, share if you want, and subscribe so you never miss a video. I hope to see you all later. And let me know what superpowers you'd like if you had any. Bye.